Okay guys, we're going to look at the audio tasks that you need to do for remixing. So I've got Latch, the vocal here.
You left my heart up.
One of the audio tasks that you have to do is to time stretch or time compress part of the audio. I'd recommend that you kind of cut a little bit out and use one section of it. So let's perhaps have a look at this. I think this is what we used in the example the other week as well. So press escape, choose scissors, and then basically cut that part out. And if we move this section out of the way and maybe move this on along a couple of bars, we can then go down to the bottom corner, and then if you press the Alt key and hold that down, you'll see that the cursor changes. And then if you click and drag whilst keeping the Alt key down, that will allow you to stretch out that piece of audio. Let go of the mouse click before you let go of Alt, and you'll see that it starts to process it into something new, and then play it and you should hear that it's been stretched out. Okay, so that's one of the things that you have to do. Make sure that's in both of your remixes. We also need to look at adding some audio effects. So the easiest way to do that, let's just say we wanted to affect this first section here. As long as you've got your part highlighted here, then the channel strip for it is what's in the bottom left. So you could be processing it by using one of the insert effects. So just click the mouse and it'll open up all different types. The easiest one, I guess, is to put a reverb on it. That acapella does already have some kind of effects on it, but you could go and add some more. So reverb, Space Designer is the nice one, and that opens something straight away. Don't worry about all of these things here. The only things you really want to be mucking about to start with are the dry and the reverb. So the dry is the original sound, and the reverb is the reverb that's adding to it. So if that's at 0, then all you're going to hear is reverb, but you probably want to have that one mixed in, probably at maximum, and then you can adjust how much reverb you want onto it. It comes up with a default, but if you wanted to choose a different one, click where it says default in the middle here, and then it comes up with lots of different types. The larger spaces are reverbs that just last for longer. So if we looked at a large and then we went down the list, you'll see that the seconds of reverb are going up from the smallest at 1.4 seconds here down to 5.7. Some of the halls get a lot longer, so you get into kind of 10, 14 second type things, so you can make quite atmospheric sounds. So for instance, let's have a look at Abbey, and then I'll just mix the dry, and maybe we'll put a lot of reverb on just to show you how extreme you can go.
You left my heart up when the rest of me is.
So really good for adding atmosphere. So that's the audio processing one ticked. You can obviously look at lots of different ones. So we had a little look the other day at modulation effects. So you could look at chorusing. The flanger was the one that sounded really odd. You could use a tremolo, a phaser. I mean, I'll just have a play with those and see which ones you like. You could also add dynamic effects, so you could be compressing it, potentially gating it as well. But I would maybe look at more the reverb and delays and the modulation effects. Okay, so that's that one. I'll take off that reverb so it makes the next bit easier. You've got to change the pitch. So we looked at the easy way of doing that, which is again to make sure that's highlighted here, and then use an insert effect, go into the pitch category, and pitch shifter is a way of doing it, which is the one we looked at in the lesson last week. Your mix, again, is the amount of the affected sound. So if it's a 0, all you're hearing is the original. If it's 100%, you hear how you've changed it. And you've got semitones up or down, basically up 12 or down 12, so you can go up or down an octave. So at 7 semitones, it's like a fifth higher.
You left my heart up when the rest of me is.
And obviously if you have the mix in the middle at 50% or thereabouts, you get the kind of mix of both.
You left my heart up when the rest of me is.
Okay, that's the kind of quick and easy way of doing the pitch shift. The other way that I showed you was to cut it into sections and then you can turn it into a sampler. So I'll show you that anyway. Let's find a section that we can do it for.
If there are boundaries, I will try to knock them down.
So let's say we want to try to knock them down. So again, use escape, bring up your scissors. Let's cut from here to here. In fact, let's not do those scissors yet. There was a tool that I showed you. I will put that end one in, where you can kind of cut. That's me zooming in, by the way. You can cut by the same distance. So there's our first cut there. If I went a beat later, which is here, and before I let go of the mouse click, I pressed Alt. Again, you'll see it slightly changed. It's called divide multiple, and that means that the distance between that first cut and where I'm making this cut here will be repeated until the end of that section. So that's all of those sections now kind of being equal. If you highlight them so that they are black at the top, and you go to the sub menu where it says audio, you can do convert regions to new sampler track. You can call it whatever you want. Create zones from the region, so it's saying each one of these regions becomes a new zone, essentially a new note on the keyboard for you to play, and you can set the trigger note range, but C1's fine, you'll be able to find it. And it does all the hard work for you. It mutes the original, so that's still there, it's just muted. If you wanted to unmute it, just highlight them and press M, and you'll see it go back to normal. And if I just put the locator, the looping tool on, you'll now be able to hear exactly the same thing, but it comes through the sampler.
Try to knock them down.
And you can see that as these sections move, that's the note, that's the MIDI information going up in note. So you can just delete that and then get to your keyboard and just try combinations.
Try to
Okay, so that's a way for you to program in those vocals, and it does it in MIDI, so you can start to really muck about. If you wanted to change the pitch of that, then make sure that's highlighted and then double click on the EXS24, which is the instrument that is made for you. Again, don't worry too much about all of these things. The ones that we're interested in is this one here that says tune, and that's again it's changing the pitch. So if you were to move it down, then all of those samples are lower in pitch. Or higher if you went the other way. Okay, so that's another kind of more fancy way. I think if you're doing house or speed garage, that's a nice kind of effect to use. Anyway, it allows you to use elements of the vocals in totally new ways. So I'd recommend using that. I think that's everything covered. The last thing that you had to do is just change the tempo. So as long as you've got your a cappella, let's say just that section, underneath this kind of sub menu here, this little triangle, you click on that, and you want to make sure that make sure that your channel is selected. Make sure that the flex mode is on, and we looked at polyphonic, and then we put the complex mode on, and that means that as you change the tempo down here, it will move with it. So for an extreme, let's go up to 200, and you should hopefully, we'll find, it's all in different sections, but we should find that.
Now I know what I have found. I feel we're close enough. I wanna lock in your love.
So it's maintaining the same pitch but changing the speed, so you can move that up or down, and that will follow the tempo. So as you change tempo down here, it will kind of move with it.